OK, top story on this Thursday morning. The government is drawing up plans to re-rationalise the country's largest water supplier as it teeters on the brink of collapse, as there's rain everywhere around London, which is covered by Thames Water, and they can't collect it. They can't do anything with it. There's all this rain. What do we have? A hosepipe ban.
Yeah, well, that's because they've been building up years and years of billions of debt, and the debt-ridden Thames Water, which services 15 million of us, is currently in emergency talks with ministers amid concerns about its ability to operate without a major cash injection.
Ofwat is the energy regulator, and it's also monitoring 4 other water companies that could face a domino effect if Thames goes bust.
Well, our head of digital news, Dan Falvey, joins us in the studio with more on this. Good morning to you, Dan. I suppose the big question is, what does this mean for everybody, not just Thames Water customers, if the government has to get involved in renationalising it?
Yeah, so these talks are at a preliminary stage and they're kind of happening in the background. It's there as a backup measure should it be necessary. The government are still hoping that they won't end up having to get involved with this. But what the government are very clear that they want to make people aware of is that this will not impact your water supply. Even if Thames Water collapses, it will not suddenly mean that you turn on your tap and no water comes out and you suddenly get cut off. You will still, as a customer, still get your water.
Why should we believe that?
So the way that this works is, although it is done by a privatised company, that flow still happens. And so even if the water company collapses, that's the structure, but it doesn't impact the infrastructure, if that makes sense. And therefore,
so somebody still has to be paying the bills for all of that to happen. That would be the government then?
That's when the government would be stepping in, yes. So what they're talking about is what would be a temporary renationalisation, if it was necessary, which could last 6 to 12 months while they look to sort it out and then find new investors who come in.
Right. Again, please let me just be somewhat cynical here. Who the heck wants to buy that? How much debt have they got?
So they've got £14 billion.
So why would anyone take that on?
So the part of the problem is it's been a lack of investment over a number of decades, and part of this debt doesn't, while it's all sat there, it's not all needed all at once. It's partially all done through bonds, which are running out over a number of years. The first set of bonds run out next year, that's 1.5 billion. But it's not like there's this 14 billion that's all going to suddenly be wanted all at once. So if a company thinks they can come in, make some money, they're not going to be said, we need £14 billion from you right now, tomorrow.
And, of course, there's been huge amounts of debt since 2006, but it hasn't stopped them paying huge payouts in dividends to the shareholders. So some people who might be greedy might think that it'd be quite a nice way of milking the water system a bit more.
Absolutely.
Again.
So privatisation happened in 1989, and the first equity investment since then was last year. So the shareholders have been taking all that money and they haven't put anything back in till last year, so that's decades.
So what was Ofwat doing during all this time?
And that's where there are big questions. What have Ofwat been doing? They raised the alarm last year. They said, we're worried about this finance and worried about the investment. But this isn't a problem that's developed overnight. This has developed over a number of years, and Ofwat have been kind of caught asleep at the wheel, really.